Welcome back, family. It's another episode with Better Minds Interrupting. And you're with me, of course, Lovely T, the spiritual brain trainer, along with my co-host, Brown Girl Interrupting.
Good
Maria, how are you
evening.
tonight?
Oh, I am really good. Good evening. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped. I think we got some good stuff going on this month of
Di-
of love and relationships, I hear. And then definitely I think today's going to be hot. So tell me a little bit, what are we talking about?
Okay, so since this is the Love Month and also Black History Month, we're going to go into the heart first before we get deep in them trenches, baby. So today, unbreak my Anahata. Anahata, what is that? That is a term for heart. It is your heart chakra. Before I go into any spiel, I'm going to read you this quote. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And that was from Rumi, Rumi. So, the heart chakra, it's a very interesting thing. Some good stuff about it. And if you don't know if you're balanced or not, here's how to find out. The heart chakra, also known as the unstruck and unhurt, it is the element of air. It is the principle of equilibrium. It is the purpose to love, to dismiss the ego and separateness, and to expand love. The masculine properties is dealing with protecting, guiding, and supporting, as men do. And the feminine properties deal with giving, nurturing, connecting, joining, and being radiant, as we are. So, why is it so important? And more importantly, how would I know if something's wrong with me in my heart or my chakra? Well, let's see. If you're deficient in it, you have a fear of intimacy, you have a judgmental state of mind, and you isolate yourself. But if you're excessive, too much, you're codependent, you become desperate for love and attention. For those stalkers out there, that means their heart is excessive. But now when they're balanced, when you got a little bit of both and you're in the middle, you're radiant, you're joyful, you're generous, you're at peace. That means you're balanced. In order to fully open the heart chakra, the lower three chakras must also be balanced. But this ain't about those lower three chakras. This is about the heart. So, Maria, do you have any questions so far before I move on?
Well, I am curious to know because you mentioned these three things, right? There's deficient, excessive, and balance, right? I would wonder, and I guess because it's chakras change, right? Like there's not one stagnant, but you can go in and out of all of those things depending on like life circumstances and relationship circumstances, right? Like where
Right,
you are in your mind, and like you said, if you know what's blocking you, right? So you can become more balanced through that.
right,
So,
right.
and I'm guessing we're going to talk a little bit about how do we balance all those things because the goal
We
is to
gonna
be
get in
balanced.
it. Yes, we are. We're gonna get in it. Okay,
All right.
so how this chakra thing work? How can we balance it? Like you said. Well, with the chakra, it's the heart. So in order to balance it, we have to soften it. We have to become soft. And I'm not saying you got to be a punk to balance your chakra, but you got to be soft.
But
Okay?
that's a good. But okay, can we go back to that? Because I don't know if you'll break it down, but I need to understand that because I think there's like this one. I gotta know. I think it's different how men soften and how women soften, right?
Right,
There's got
right.
to be a difference. But then also, like, what's the balance between soften and like doormat, right? Like, right? Like, so it's
But listen,
obviously you're not saying that, right?
see, now this is the difference. You're
Okay.
talking about yourself. So you're going to soften with yourself. We're trying to balance this heart chakra. It ain't about the others yet. but you got to be soft with them too. But once you balance yourself, you will know how far to be soft with the outsiders, because everybody don't need your heart.
So, but that's important because what you're saying is when we're thinking about our heart chakra, it's not heart chakra in relation to others. Because I think that's a confusion. I don't think everybody understands that. Because I will say I didn't understand that, to be honest. But like, but it's your relationship with self. So your heart is your relationship with yourself and your
That's
love
right.
of yourself, and then from there, it's what you're doing with that that makes it either deficient, excessive, or balanced.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're already aware of yourself or whatever the case may be, I'm gonna show you and tell you the signs to look for. So, softening not only your body and your breath, because you're gonna have to learn some breathing exercises, but that's a different episode. But also your judgments, your stance towards another person or situation, as we just stated. After you do your body and your mind and your breathing, then you do others. This invites openness, connection, and reception. You'll be able to receive. It won't only be take, 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 or give, give, give. It'll be reciprocated. This is also the center of your core. So your heart chakra, there's 7 chakras. Your heart chakra is your 4th chakra. You got 3 below it, 3 above it. So right now, your heart chakra is the center of your core. So if the center of your core is not working right, is not balanced, you got a lot of confusion, anxiety, panic. You got a lot of stuff going on with your body. Okay? So even though love is the universal force of connection and healing, we often fear it and long for it. And this creates blockage in the heart. Why does it create a blockage in your heart? Because if you long for love, but you also fear it, you're confusing the heart. It's like, I want it, but I'm scared. I want it, but I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? So then there's a block and you stuck. So you got to balance it, right? Okay. So when the heart is open, it breaks through that blockage. It breaks through that bondage of that conflict into ecstatic joy, radiant love, tender compassion, and deep intimacy with your own self as well as another's interior.
All right, that's a lot. That's a lot, but it all
I
makes
paused
sense.
it
But
because
I
I
think
could
no,
go more, but I paused it.
but I think like I think you broke it down really well. I think for me, I'm struggling because I think even just this idea of like the pull and push, right? Just a personal thought, right? Personally thinking about that, it's very difficult because I think for some people that fear and that want is like to find that middle ground. It's like almost like fear comes from if you've never experienced something, you don't know that it's actually ever possible. And your want and your longing is because you've never experienced something, so you want it, right?
Fear can also be you experience it and you don't want to experience it again.
Right.
So yes.
But how? So, but it's, and this is my struggle. My struggle is because I've heard this many times and I've been trying to work on this whole idea of like balancing my heart chakra. And I'm guessing that like shoving any of those feelings of emotions down and just working and stuff is not balancing my heart chakra. So I'm still like, I'm working on it. Right. But it's a challenge. It's a genuine challenge.
It is
to
a
be
challenge.
Able to balance that, because either you've been hurt or it's something that you just have never ever seen. So the existence
or
to believe in
experience.
something if you've never seen or experienced it, to
Yeah.
believe that it's possible is a really, it like requires a lot of faith, a
Right,
lot of
right,
faith in
right.
this unknown. And you get,
Exactly.
I think you tend to get, and I'm gonna go stop. I'm gonna stop saying you. I'm gonna say I, okay? Like I'm gonna speak
No,
the
we
I
know that you're
statement.
saying in
Okay.
general.
But so
We
for
know
me,
you're saying
I'm
in
gonna
general.
say it's in general, but I would say my in general comes from my own experiences. I think
Right,
that I
right.
am stuck there. I am
Yeah,
stuck there. I am
right.
solidly stuck in that place because it's this feeling of like, does it actually really happen? Does it actually exist? Is it possible? And then I think it's possible. I really would like it.
Right, right. You're right. You're on it. You're on it. You got it, brown girl. You got it. There's no confusion about it. You got it.
There's all kinds of confusion. What are you talking about? My head is a mess right now. Like I have no idea. I got no answer. So, better minds. I'm gonna need you to, lovely T, to better my
Okay,
mind
so
and break it down better.
okay, I got you. I got you. So let's check. Let's go a little deeper. So the defenses in our heart come from our past hurts and betrayals, childhood wounds, and the exquisite sensitivity and therefore potential pain of the center, which is the essence of our core. So remember, that's the imprint that's in our heart chakra. The past hurts, betrayal, child wounds, all that sensitivity that been placed here that has brought fear, right? So in the force of life, when we take down these fears, these defenses, we start opening the heart. So you have to work on those defenses first. Dealing with a blocked heart chakra, people experience pressure in their chest area. It's almost like somebody pushing on it, like you will feel it. You know how somebody say, my chest is tight, it's restricted. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel like you can't breathe. It's going to be pressure. And you know, I need you to learn some breathing exercises, which you can go to Yomi and learn some. So, once you get the breathing exercises
I'm looking at you
down
like this
pat,
because I've
you'll
been
learn
having
how
some
to
chest
open up your
pains this
chest.
week.
Say that again.
I said, I'm looking at you like this because I had some chest pains this week. Quite a few. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so now you know it was that heart
So
chakra.
it was my heart chakra this whole time.
Yes, but you know the other three chakras that's below it is not balanced as well. But I got you. So the tissue around the chest may be sore and tender. Did you experience that?
Yeah.
Okay. To touch, it may be sore and tender. The shoulders will round forward in protection of the heart. So if you like this, and you probably don't even know that your shoulders is round instead of being back and your shoulder and your chest up. See, right now I can look at you and see that you tense because your shoulder is like this. It ain't all the way, but it's like this. So it might be still some lingering there.
Whew.
Okay. So, and because it's like that, you lack energy because you're protecting, but you're lacking energy at the same time. This is a deficient heart chakra. These are the tasks, and I'm just going to give you 4. These are some tasks that you can go through to balance your heart chakra. Easy. You need to raise your lower chakra energy to the heart. So we need to start with the root. Then we go through the sacral. Then we go through the solar plexus. Then we get to the heart. Now there's some other things that you can do with them first 3. And I'm going to tell you, it's a beautiful thing. Mario experienced the root chakra. Get out of your head. This number 2. You need to get out of your head. This is the crown. You need to get out your head and bring it down to your heart. So you got 3 chakras above the heart. We're going to start at the head. We're going to bring it on down to the third eye. We're going to bring it on down to the communications. And then we're going to bring it on down to the heart. Okay? So, number 3, you're going to utilize the breath. I need y'all to learn some breathing exercises because this helps you with anxiety, panic attacks. When you, anything, even your creativity, you need to take a break, do some breathing exercises. I'm telling you, it works. Trust me. The last one, there's more that you can do though. These just 4 simple ones. The last one, stay centered within yourself. So I need you to find some love for yourself. And believe it or not, half of us don't even know we don't love ourselves that much. I can tell you that. You can just look outside and they don't love themselves. Period.
But that's a really good point. I think like this idea of staying centered in yourself and loving yourself. Like it's like a really weird abstract idea. Because it isn't like, so I think people started to think that self-love meant, okay, I get massages and I go and I get like facials and like self-love is pampering. But that's not self-love, right? Like self-love is something different than that. Or maybe it's not the only part of self-love, because I was looking at you, you're saying that's self-love too. But like what does that really mean to center yourself? That's
center
staying
yourself.
centered. Yeah.
Well, when you're centered, when you're in center, that means you're in the middle. Your heart is your core. Your heart is in the middle. You're centered, you're at peace. So if you're centered, that means your aura is not dim. Your light sure is not dim. No one can penetrate it. You're at peace. You're centered. You're balanced within your heart chakra. And guess what, y'all? Some kundalini stuff that goes in with that too. So it's a lot to learn. So much things within our temple that we can heal and shine so bright on the outside. Trust and believe. Simple stuff that we can do.
So are there things like this idea of like staying centered, right? Like what is it that I need to, because for some people, not everybody's the same, but for some people, maybe it's like saying something, right? Like there's something I need to say to myself to stay centered and at peace. Are there things that help that? Like, are there belief systems that I can keep reminding myself of? So like I say that because sometimes for me, part of what being at peace has been like, I just keep reminding myself to let go,
Right.
let go of the control, right? So the
Right.
piece is that I can't be upset and I have to stay centered, because the truth of the matter is I don't control anything. And like I physically will take my hands and release them. Like I release the like all the muscles, right? Like just literally allow your body to just be.
Right.
Are there
Just
other
be.
things though? So that's, I mean, that's helped me is what I'm saying. But like, is there
Right.
other stuff? Like what else can we say to ourselves? What else do we
So
have to center?
there's there's affirmations, and as you know, I create affirmations. So there's affirmations that you can say. Um, you can say what you're grateful for every morning. That will help you become centered. Being grateful for your life, being grateful for waking up, being grateful for breathing. Simple stuff, not what you have. It's all about life, not material. It's all about soul, your spirit, how you want to grow and stuff like that. That is what you want to be at peace. That is the only way you can be. You want to be who you want to be. You want to just be, right?
Yeah.
All these bees.
Well,
But
peace is the goal, right? That's it.
peace,
Peace is the goal.
peace is a goal. But you can do affirmations. You can draw and paint. Salute, Smile 69s. Welcome.
Salute, Smile 69s. It's nice to have you here.
So you could, like I said, the affirmations, you could pray, you could meditate, you could exercise, you could dance. There's so many things that you could do to center yourself. But you have to know what brings you peace.
So part of that is also knowing what brings you joy.
Exactly.
To find my peace, I need to know what gives you joy. So this goes back to one of those episodes, I think, where we talked about you have to know what you like and what you don't like, right? That's
That's
part of
right.
finding your peace, because as soon as something triggers you because it's taking your peace, you don't want that in your space anymore. And when you move away from it, then you're back to center.
That's right. Then you're back to center. So we're talking about all this heart chakras, and the chakras, I'm telling you, is some good stuff. So I would like for you all to see my project that I have done, and it deals with the chakras. I have a 7-series workshop that can make you be balanced. Check it out.
Mm-hmm. And Thanks Smiles Network just said, peace is hard to find. That is very, very true. Smile 69 Network. We appreciate you, V.
Welcome to Yomi, a yoga meditation program. Yomi, life attunement. You will learn to balance your 7 chakras. It's about self-improvement and self-acceptance. Using meditation to clear your thoughts. Yummy. It will help you gain strength and flexibility. Maximize your self-confidence. Welcome back. All right, are y'all ready for this next segment? Let's talk about some what? Gaslighting. Okay, so we just talked about the heart, right? The purpose of me letting y'all know what the deal is with the heart when it's excessive, when it's deficient, how to be balanced. Because when people gaslight you, where do you think your heart is at?
Ooh. Well, that's when you go into deficiency, right? Because now I've been like triggered. Now I've been hurt. Now I'm like, I'm questioning myself. And that's the thing with gaslighting is gaslighting makes you question yourself. So that self-love gets tested.
That's right. Good
Good
evening,
evening,
Mr.
Mr.
Jones.
Jones. Salute to you as well.
Yes, sir. So, yes, you are absolutely right. So, we're going to pick through this article that a psychologist and counselor wrote. Her name is, excuse me if I mispronounce it, Jayanika Ederera. Okay? She wrote this. She's a psychologist and a counselor. So, after communicating with a gaslighter, you will start doubting about what's wrong with you. Didn't you just say that? I could have sworn I just heard you say that. And you will start to slowly behave and think in this way. These are some phrases. When you're gaslighting, this is how you will start to think and behave. You're overreacting. You're so dramatic. This is your problem to deal with. I never said that. It was a joke. Have a sense of humor. I don't know why you're making this such a big deal out of this. All those phrases, you've been gaslighted. Okay? It's part of it. So when somebody talking to you in these phrases in this way, it kind of fuel you or back you up. What it do for you, Maria? Have you ever been gaslighted, by the way?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with gaslighting. So I will have to say, and this is I think for me is it was a recent discovery of the language of gaslighting. Like I knew I was experiencing something, and I didn't know there was a name for it. I just remember that in a previous relationship, I definitely I would bring up things and I don't know if you mentioned this because you were saying phrases, but I think the other thing of gaslighting is that it's flipping the conversation. So the reason it impacts you is because you are saying something to someone because you feel it, you see it, you're trusting your intuition, and their goal is to flip the conversation back to you and make you question your intuition. So, like, that's when you're overreacting, or don't make such a big deal about it, or dismissing it entirely, or you're being too dramatic, right? So now you're not looking at me, you're looking at yourself.
Right. You turned the blame around. Not only just the blame, though, you kind of put a behavior on yourself, right? So when something come up, or if you have a different interaction with somebody else, and that person may be wrong, but because you may have gotten gaslighted and believed it, you feel like this now because it happened again. Oh, I must be difficult. Am I overreacting? That's when you start asking yourself, am I doing this right? I hope I'm not. I got a good sense of humor, don't I? You start questioning yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said,
Saharia, I see you in the chat here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So and can I say, so I think like it's that questioning of yourself that happens, that like then the power of it is that gaslighting is a way to control the narrative of a relationship, right? Because you're not going to be looking at the person who's doing the things that are actually negative, that are actually detrimental, that are actually hurtful, because you're so busy focusing in on what you feel like you haven't done. And it often happens, not all the time, but I think a lot of empathic people become, are the ones that are targeted for gaslighting, because naturally we, and I will say we because I know you and I both have talked about this, right? We're both pretty empathetic people, right? But we will naturally want to make the other person not feel bad, right? We would
Right, right,
naturally want to be nurturing, naturally want to make sure there isn't a conflict happening, right? Not an avoidance of conflict, but like a resolution of conflict. So if I need to now look inside myself and be like, oh yeah, maybe I need to change that, right? Like, and it's funny that you said, have I ever been gaslighted? I've gone back to notes I wrote when I was married, and I used to, I would write after a conversation. I could see like the trajectory of like before the conversation, all the things I was feeling, and then I would come back and I would reflect after and be like, oh yeah, I need to do this differently, and I should do this more, and it's my fault, and he's just trying, and he's really, it's me, it's me, and all the ways that I would convince myself it's me, not just like verbally but on paper,
right,
because you've internalized it so much.
right, right, right. You're right. And like you said, you didn't know the definition of it before then.
Oh,
No one even knew what gaslighting was until you kept hearing it.
right, right.
So, gaslighting is oftentimes difficult to identify due to its insidious nature. It is also a slow, unconscious loss of reality. It typically begins in a very subtle way by having another person correct your thinking, dismiss your emotions, and contradict your statements. In other words, it is a subtle form of emotional or psychological manipulation that often results in the victim doubting their perception of reality and their sanity in abusive relationships. What do you think about that, Mario?
I can say that that has been the undoing of the last 3 years for me, is the undoing of gaslighting, because it certainly it's the thing, like when someone hurts you, right? Like if you get a cut, right? You get the cut, it's on the surface and it will heal. When something impacts you internally and changes the way you see yourself, the undoing of that is
Mm,
so much harder than just something that's on the surface,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Because someone has literally, like you said, you've manipulated with someone's head, with their mental state, with their emotions, and that mental state, those emotions are what I need to get through my day. And if
To stay
I'm
sane.
thinking, right, like you can't say, and that's what it is. It's to take your sanity. It's to take your sanity. And those who are, like you said, I think the words were insidious and like covert, right? Like those two things, like that's what it is. It's so
Hidden.
invisible. It's like
Yeah.
like sleeping gas, right? Like, or the gas, like, like gas seeps under like a door, and you don't
Yeah.
see it, you don't
Yeah.
smell it, you don't anything until you feel it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, gaslighting.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. So she has a uh title called Gaslighting and Relationships. Gaslighting can be considered a tactic that one partner uses to hold all the power in the dynamic as their victim becomes increasingly oppressed. When someone is gaslighting you, you tend to have second thoughts about yourself, your perception, and your memories. Gaslighting can happen in any type of relationship, including romantic, family, friendships, and work relationships. If you're being pressured, controlled, or even feel like you're questioning yourself more than usual, it could be an underlying sense of manipulation.
So, Trinity, let me ask you, have you ever experienced something like that? And how did it impact you?
I have. I have. Especially as a teenager.
Hmm.
And especially when you're dating. I've
So,
done gaslighting.
okay, okay. Well, you know what? I appreciate that honesty. But so,
I
and
have.
what was the impact for you in both directions? I'd be curious to know, like being someone who, like you just said, you've done it to others, And also, like, when you felt it, what was the impact for you?
So me doing it is me mimicking it.
Say more
That's
about that.
how, when it was done to me, I shed the mirror and did it back. Right? And with that mirror, my purpose was to just show you how it feels. That made me content, I guess.
Did it?
Yeah, a little. Because I'm not vindictive. If I'm going to do something, it's going to be subtle, not hurtful.
And that's a really good point, because I think the thing with gaslighting is that it's intentional. Whether or not the person knows that they're going to say it's gaslighting, they're never going to admit that, right? But it is an intentional effort to do something and to cause harm, because it's controlling. The purpose of it is to control. Whether it's controlling the person,
it is to control. Yep,
controlling the narrative, controlling what they're gonna get from the situation. It's control.
It's controlling. You're right. It is. So I must say that manipulation is an emotionally unhealthy psychological strategy used by people who are incapable of asking for what they want and need directly. Have you ever got to the point where you're like, dang, I want to ask them something, but I don't know how to do it?
Okay, so I think I've learned about myself is that I have had in the past, I'm working on it, but I have had in the past some manipulation tendencies. But I think going back to what you said about, like, my purpose for it wasn't an ill intent. Like, I'm not manipulating to control someone so that I can get what I want, but rather manipulating circumstances to influence,
to teach a lesson,
outcomes, to teach lessons, to shed light on things that maybe you wouldn't see if I didn't manipulate the circumstances a little bit, right? But I will say, what I've learned in hindsight is it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Like, I've truly, I think this goes back to that whole, like, how do you center yourself? Let go.
Just so let go.
The opposite of manipulation is letting go and allowing the universe to take
there you go. Just let it be. Yep. Just let it be. But some people will not let it go. So the phenomenon of gaslighting is very common amongst abusers, narcissists, and dictators.
Abusers, narcissists, and dictators. Wow, that makes sense, but I just think it's hilarious that, like, narcissists and dictators and abusers are all, it's just interesting. That's a high level of manipulation. That's beyond passive aggressive, right?
Yeah, it is. So let's check out some of these techniques used by gaslighters. Okay, one technique is, we all know, lying. Lying allows a person to establish perceived control over a situation by manipulating reality. Gaslighters also use this strategy and change their stories even when you call them out or prove their deception. So even with proof, they still like, it ain't true. And you will somehow be like, you know what, maybe it ain't true. And you got the proof in your hand. You've been gaslighted. You've been gaslighted. Number 2, denial of wrongdoing. Okay, most gaslighters deny the fact that they have done an unnecessary act of wrong to avoid taking responsibility for their admissible choices. This denial will make victims frustrated and confused, since the pain they felt was not even acknowledged by the other person. I would argue that in the therapy room, that it is very hard for the victim to heal and move on. Number 3, weaponized compassion. What the hell is that? A gaslighter will always use loving and kind words to diffuse the situation. especially when something is questioned. The victim might want to hear these words even if these statements are not truthful. If the same behavior is repeated over and over again, then they were not authentic utterances at all. And that's how they weaponize the compassion.
So let me ask you, because I think this is another word that was new to me. Is that kind of love bombing?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a different show.
That's a different show, but I'm just saying that's that idea, that weaponized compassion. That's another way to say
Love bombing. Yes, it is.
And
it
another
is.
technique to
That's right.
manipulate
That's
and
right.
gaslight.
That's right. So shift and blame is the fourth one. Most gaslighters engage in blame shifting. You will end up in situations where you think that you are the one that should take the blame. Gaslighters tend to manipulate the situation when you believe that you are the cause of their bad behavior, and you're not. For example, when you try to discuss how their behavior makes you feel, they're able to twist the conversation and end up blaming you. They may posit that if you had behaved differently, they would have treated you more appropriately. Have anybody ever told you that? If you acted like this, I would have did that.
Oh God, yeah. If your tone was different, if you asked the question differently, if you caught me at the right time, right, whatever it is, there's always something that I didn't do right.
So this is something that I heard yesterday. And the guy said that him and his wife was in therapy. And the therapist asked him, why do you get upset when she come to you? And he said, well, I be in a good mood. And she want to always come and ask me these damn questions when I'm in a good mood. The therapist said, okay, well, why you asking him questions when he in a good mood? And his wife said, well, I don't want to ask him questions when he busy. I don't want to ask him questions when he just come home from work. I want him to relax first. I don't want to ask him questions when he's angry. So when he's in a good mood, I feel that it's safe to ask these questions. He never looked at it like that. And then at that point, he was like, oh, well, damn, you're not trying to ruin my good moment. You're just trying to ask me because I'm in a good mood.
So his response was not a gaslighting response, because I think like that's a big thing. I want to come back to that, but Shaharia says you made me do this as common. That's right, because it's blaming it on you, right?
Yes.
It's blaming it on you. But I think that's an interesting thing what you said, Trini, because what happens when someone makes it about when you're talking to them about something is now what they've done is they've planted this seed in your head for you to be like, so I have to be very careful as to when I say it, right? So now you're not just going to be honest when you need to be honest. You have to plan it, you have to prepare it. And then it gives them an out to be like, but see, you ain't catch the right moment. So I'm sorry, we can't have that conversation. Or I'm a lie about it, or I'm omission. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm going to flip this conversation, whatever it is. And now it's back to you being like, oh, I need to find the right time. Like it really, like the gaslighting.
Yes.
It takes away your confidence. Like that's the biggest thing, right? It takes away your confidence in yourself.
That's deep. And that's why I shared that story, because he didn't even realize it. That he was shifting blame until he understood why. Not saying that everybody is like that, but it's a common mistake. Right.
And I would say that if you're in a relationship with someone who was previously in a manipulative situation where they were gaslighted, those are also those triggers that you want to understand about them. So like, who knows, maybe she was in situations like that and his response made her now have to walk on eggshells. That's what walking on eggshells is in a relationship. It's when you have to pick your moments of when you are going to actually be able to be truthful and honest and authentically yourself, because that might push someone away.
That's right. That's right. And so the last one is
So
called
before we get to
Missing.
this last one, do we want to take a break real quick and then we'll come back to that last one? Because I think that's going to be important, but I want to make sure we get to this. We got some things coming up this week for my new show that maybe we want to hear a little bit about. My name is Brown Girl Interrupting, also known as Maria, and soon I am going to be venturing into a new project. So you might know me already as a blogger who writes, and now I am going to be moving from sharing my story to sharing the stories of others through interviews. So please stay tuned for the new show coming up on the YouTube channel for Brown Girl Interrupting called Pain to Power Leading with Love. And it's going to feature different individuals who have taken pain and turned it into power by creating healing opportunities for others. So the first teaser that you have is an interview that was done just last week on January 9th with a social media popular guy named the Meme King for Real. And here's a little teaser of that interview. See you soon on Pain to Power Leading with Love with Brown Girl Interrupting. Know that everybody is dying to know your story because you have some amazing things that you've been sharing in terms of relationships. And the power of what I've noticed is that you're able to not only impact the way women respond, but men respond to you too. And that's just a rare thing I've seen, is that anybody's content that can affect and really impact both men and women is pretty powerful. And it says a lot. So I got to ask you, was there a moment or like a moment in your life that ignited this whole desire for you to share your wisdom about relationships?
Well, if you wanna get like go back further than Mean King, there was a period of time in my life where I wasn't the best man. I wasn't the best guy. I didn't love women properly. I was pretty much not a good guy. And and before Mean King, back in about I want to say 2010, I decided I had broke a woman's heart. I had really hurt someone who really cared about me. She really loved me. Like she was what society likes to call what we call ride or die. Like she was a ride or die woman, and I didn't treat her right at all. And after really hurting her, uh, I woke up one day and I wasn't happy with myself at all. Not as a man, not as a dad, not as anything. And I made a commitment to myself to want to do better. I accepted who I was at that time and said, listen, you need change. If you ever want your sons to grow up and choose and be a man, you have to lead by example. If you ever want your daughter to grow up and choose a suitor, you want to lead by example. You want her to choose a suitor like you. So in order for these things to happen, you have to be the example. So I started working on myself, and it took me 6 years. 6 years of really tearing back the layers. 6 years of getting ugly, really getting into it.
Yeah.
And I was finally healthy enough to love a woman back in like 2016 is when I finally arrived.
Good stuff. And your show is Saturday at 8, right?
Saturday at 8 o'clock, I am interviewing Daniel Cargi, who's also known as a motivational speaker who goes by Self Love Speaker on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And it's going to be fire. He's got a really interesting story of kind of taking pain of others and turning it into power for others. So definitely check it out. And I want to say, I think it's really interesting because just that commercial, looking and watching Meme King or Q talking about his experience, he really was one of those people who used to gaslight. Like he shared that, right? This idea of like those were so those ways that in a man who manipulates a relationship, and not only men, but this just happens to be right a man. But and the fact that he was able to identify those behaviors and change them, I think is
Yeah,
really important
it's
because
important.
if you're doing those things right now, if you're watching our show and these sound familiar, um, just
Therapy.
like therapy, right? And he did talk about therapy, and therapy comes up a lot. And for a lot of these men that I've interviewed, right, therapy is a big one. And identifying, right, that you are doing something that's harming someone. So just remembering that you could turn it around. You could turn it around.
Right.
It
You
doesn't
can
have to
always turn it
stay.
around.
You
You
don't
can
you don't
always
have to
change. You can
stay
always
as that
become a better
person.
person. Right. Right. Agreed.
Yeah. So okay, so we were going to our fourth thing. What's the fourth element?
The fifth thing and the
Sorry,
last thing is missing congruence. So there's always a mismatch between the words and the actions of the gaslighter. This will make the victim more confused. They will always make promises, but it doesn't make any sense since they never follow through. So that's the last one. Never coming through on their promises. And those are techniques that you can spot a gaslighter.
So can we turn this around? Because I'm curious to know. You did say that you've experienced it before, right? So which of these techniques do you feel maybe had the most impact on you, and why?
I would have to say maybe the shift in blame. And the impact that it has was confusion and angriness. I'm not a person that deals with blame well. Can't blame me, especially if I know. I don't deal with blame well. Because I accept when I do something wrong. And I accept when you want to criticize something in your opinion. I accept those things. What I don't accept is blame, especially when I know I'm not the one to blame. So I take that it's like the biggest pet peeve other than lying. I tell my kids that you don't get in trouble for telling the truth. You get in trouble for lying. And they notice that when they tell the truth, even if they did something wrong, they don't get in trouble. This is my way of implementing that in their head. So, not to get too deep or off topic, shift and blame.
But, and you know what, though, I think that's important because what you said was important is that you said that you don't take the blame. So it sounds like even though it is a gaslighting technique that you've experienced, you had a way to not internalize it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's important because I didn't. I internalized it. So how do you get to a place where you don't internalize it?
You're not going to sacrifice your own feelings to take blame for something that's going to make you feel even worse. And you already know how emotional we human beings can be if we're in a state of hurt. So that's what I was going to get into. How to not be gaslighted. Techniques to stop being gaslighted. What can you do? There's ways. First of all, you got to be mentally strong. And you got to know and trust yourself. Now, when you was at that point of being gaslighted, and I was at that point too, in the very beginning when I was young and didn't understood, because that's what it was back then too, just had a different name. Right. But when I was younger, I didn't get none of this. So I wasn't mentally strong then, never experienced it. So being gaslighted unaware in what it is, but now seeing it in this present day, I had to become gaslighted to be where I'm at right now.
So it's like part of almost like it's your awareness of the red flags, right? So like when you start
Exactly.
to see these examples of the things we've just talked about, like, so for those of you who are watching, for people who are watching, right? If they start to see those behaviors, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
your red flag that someone
Mm-hmm.
is trying to gaslight you, right? And so
Right.
the way you avoid it is that the second you feel it and see it, you know that I'm not doing this.
And you have to trust yourself. And what I was going to say was that's why we couldn't get over it in the beginning, because we didn't trust ourselves. We
Mm.
trusted them more than we trusted ourselves.
God, yeah, that's so true. That's a really important point. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, techniques to stop getting gaslighted. All right. One, not second guessing your genuine feelings and intellect. We got to stop doing that. You are good enough. Okay? Have a firm belief in yourself and use your intuition as your guidance system. No one knows better than you. Use you as a compass. Okay? Trust yourself. Two, recognize the warning signs. By recognizing the warning signs, you can avoid falling into the trap of gaslighting. What are the warning signs? I'm going to give you a few. Constant self doubt, feeling the need to apologize, regularly feeling misunderstood and alone, constantly feeling confused, having difficulty trusting yourself and other people, low self esteem, trying to live up to unreasonable and unrealistic expectations and demands from others, feeling like your behavior and actions will always be questioned, and a sense of insecurity and vulnerability. Those are the signs.
I want to stop there because I think what's really important that I want to elevate that you said is recognize warning signs. And a lot of times we say recognize warning signs. And even just now when I said it right, I said red flags. We're putting the red flags on someone else, right? So when
Right,
they do this, when they behave like this, but the truth is, what I heard you just say is that it's know yourself. Know
right.
yourself. Know when you feel like you're apologizing too much, or you self doubt, or you are questioning whether or not this is reality, right? Like
Am
if
I
your
tripping?
reality is
I
clear,
know I ain't
right?
tripping.
Right? Like, wait, I thought, no, but wait, am I right? Like, yeah, right?
Right, am
Like,
I tripping?
that's, but that is really powerful because it's not about the other person. Because I think the thing is, then it doesn't matter how subtle or how big the moment is. You can sense it because you know yourself. And I will say for me, that's my lesson. That's what I've been learning is like, I don't think, I'd like to think, I'm going to pray. Now I'll go through this shit again, right? Like, third
You
time,
won't.
I'm going to do
You
it
know
right,
why?
right? Like, I'm not going to go through this again, right?
You won't.
But part of that is that because I know myself, right? Like, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening to my body. I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening to my heart chakra. I'm listening to the way that I feel in a circumstance. And if I am in a familiar feeling now, if I feel that self doubt, all those things, now I'm looking at it going like, oh, hold on. This is not my peace. This is not my peace.
It's
And
not
if
my
it
piece. It's
doesn't
not
bring
what
me
I want.
peace,
I know what I want, and it's not that.
and if it doesn't bring me peace, it doesn't have a place. That's what
That's
I'm
right.
going with now.
That's right. So after you recognize those warning signs, you check in with others. Once you are manipulated and blamed repeatedly, it will be hard to see the reality of the situation. Always try to check in with someone else to get a better grasp of reality. Girl, please tell
Mm.
me I'm not tripping. Please let me. Do you know what just fucking happened? I want to tell you this. Oh, so you know I ain't tripping. Okay, I just needed to check in. I'm gonna call you back later. Something as simple as that. Pitch yourself. Hold up. I know I'm yeah, I'm here. Check in. Okay. Prioritize safety. You do not need to prove a gaslighter's threats or violence are sincere. If you feel you are in danger, you can always leave the situation. Your safety is always important. So if your gaslighter controls you by force that shouldn't be used, don't fear. You can leave. 5, not sacrificing yourself to spare other feelings. You will never feel the other person's desire for control, even if you dedicate your whole life to making them happy. So don't hurt yourself while helping them. Very important. Don't lose yourself.
Don't lose yourself, right?
The last one, getting therapeutic help. Everybody frowns on therapy. Well, not everybody. A lot of people frown on therapy. But therapy is not blamapy. You don't go to therapy for them to criticize you, for them to blame you, for them to pick out your wrongs. You go to therapy to recognize you, to see where you lie in the reality that you see. That's what you go to therapy for. They are not there saying, you're this, you're this. Oh, no, you did wrong. You shouldn't have did that. That don't go down to therapy. And if you don't want to go to a therapist, you can come to somebody like me, a life coach. I'm just as good. I have experience. Don't be scared to talk to someone. That's the thing. Don't be scared to talk to somebody. We all need help. We all need to talk. We got to release. When you don't do that, you're making the will suffer. You're pushing your will down. You're not releasing it. I need you to release it, okay? So get some therapeutic help. Therapy is a safe place where you can talk about your feelings and memories without judgment. I've been to therapy, and I'm not scared to say it.
It's fair, and I have too. And it's not a bad thing, right? Josh says, in regards to BG's take on peace, plot twist though, success is not a peaceful process. It's very uncomfortable. So I'm gonna put, I agree with you, because I think peace does not mean not having discomfort. I think peace is like a peace in your center, which might be uncomfortable because it's a place of growth. Right. But someone else causing me not having peace is different, right? Like, so you can have discomfort to grow, and that is uncomfortable, and success is not comfortable. It shouldn't be, because you're not really succeeding. But like, definitely, like, no one else should even in success, right? Like, if I'm working with someone, right, and I'm deciding, is this really the person I want to have business with? Is this really the person I want to network with? Is this really the person? I'm gauging the peace level. Right. Because that's important in that decision making. I'm sorry, my contacts are all whacked, so I'm not winking at you.
I'm about to say, are you winking at me? I'm just trying to give me a
My contacts are all kinds of whack. I apologize. I was like, I should probably explain to her I ain't winking at her all night. I mean, I am winking at you, but I'm just saying, like. So yes, yeah, John, that's it, right? Like, but I totally agree. Like, I think there's a big difference in discomfort and having your peace disturbed.
That's right.
That might be a show in itself, right?
It is. You gonna read it?
But that part, okay, so Josh says, but that part is tricky. I need some Bettermindz interrupting. I'll come on a show one day and discuss the business part. That's
of course.
Okay.
Yes,
because I think spirituality and business have to come hand in hand, right? Like, you can't. It's not a compartmentalization with spirituality. Everything in your life should be at peace in the way you approach it. In some way. But I think that's a good conversation. Yes, Ja, come on and talk to us.
Yes.
And for those of y'all don't know, Ja Logic is our producer. He is the man with the plan behind all this and making it work. And he's going to be doing all the same magic this Saturday, February 5th, when I am interviewing Daniel Cargill, the self-love speaker, for Pain to Power, Leading with Love. Episode 2 is debuting, so definitely come and check us out on Brown Girl Interrupting on YouTube, and subscribe, follow, notify, all of it.
That's right. And we would like to thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget to watch Brown Girl Tomorrow, Pain to Power, February 5th at 8
Not tomorrow,
p.m.
Saturday, 8 p.m.
Saturday. What's the date? Oh, I said
It's Thursday. That's all right. We skipping days.
Well, guess what? Check us out next Thursday, 9 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel.